Hey everybody, wow, what a contest. The Raiders, I'm looking at this score and it just is like a dream. It's 42-0 over this. I keep wanting to say San Diego Chargers, but Los Angeles Chargers. And it's at the half. So you have a whole game to play, whole half to play of a whole game. And it's like, everybody wants to just quit and go home. I'm As you may be watching this, I'm watching this on Amazon Prime, and I think it was Tony Gonzalez, Go Bears. He said, no, actually, it wasn't Tony Gonzalez who said that. He was laughing. It was the great cornerback, a former cornerback of the San Francisco 49ers, who said, hey, look, you know what? We've got a situation here where we should just tell the coach, Brandon Staley, go home. Okay. Just, quit. You're fired. Don't come back. And we'll just find somebody else to finish the rest of the game for us. But don't you coach anymore because you can't inspire anybody. I don't think it's a matter of inspiring. I think it has to do with, everybody has this thing about Rudy. And Rudy, the fictional, I think it's based on a true story, actually, character, Notre Dame, student who rallied the team and all that stuff. But it's really about plays and the scheme. And give it to the Raiders, because all we heard about before the game started was Khalil Mack, and Khalil Mack got in and he sacked Aiden O'Connell 6 times. And his first game out, he just put him on the turf and yada, 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 yada. Well, the Raiders' brain trust, led by their offensive coordinator, decided, you know what? We are going to go short passing. And we're going to give them a steady diet of short passing until the cows come home. And that was really the trick. The cows did come home. And it wasn't an exotic short pass. It was timed, efficient, well thought out. It was a great game plan. I mean, you got to say it was a great game plan, of course, right? Great game plan. But Aiden has got 5 touchdown passes. 5 touchdown passes. 5 touchdown passes. But I'm thinking, somebody ought to just send Richard Sherman in there to be the coach, right? Wouldn't that be something? Jesus, go Raiders. Blessings to you, Vaughn Eric. How are you? I'm going to put this out as well. So do you think the Raiders could make this? Let's just kind of have some fun with this. Do you think the Raiders could hit 60 points? All right. Think about it. That's 2 touchdowns. That's 14. And a field goal would put them over, right? So right now, you're looking at 42-0. All right. So they score another touchdown, 7. So that's, wow. You're looking at 49 points. Okay. So you score another touchdown. Oh my Lord, 56 points. So you'd have to score another touchdown. So let me ask this question then. Do you think they'll hit 50? Do you think they'll have a 50-point game? Because arguably they've got a whole half to do that just playing normal football. They don't have to do anything but run, right? Chargers maybe cough up the ball a couple more times, put it on the ground. Maybe they get an interception for the first time, right? Something like that. Point I'm making is why couldn't that happen? But also, the other concern I have is, what will this kind of victory do to the Raiders? Will it say to them, okay, we're back? I think it should say, you know what? We got lucky here. Let's not get over ourselves. Let's just concentrate on the next contest, learn from that, take the good and amplify it, take the bad, and it wasn't much bad at all, right? And correct it. I would say where they need to correct things is the running game. 78 yards isn't bad, but given the amount of number of times they turn over the ball, you'd like to see a more effective set of runs. I think by design, not by much, but um, something where they could just be comfortable with the idea of putting it on the ground and still controlling the ball without being down for a loss. That's something they need to work on. What say you all? What do you think uh, they need to work on, um, or not? I mean, is this it? So much for Jimmy Garoppolo, right? that talk went out the door. John, how you doing? John says, "Do you think Antonio Bit get?" John, as much as I'd like to say, yeah, the Raiders who have worked in the past with this, if that's any indication, all right, I would say probably not. Now, should he? Yeah. I don't think you can base his future on this game. Now, if he wins out, all right, that would place the Raiders at 9-8. 9-8 is achievable. If he does that, then the argument would be automatically he should be the head coach. And if Mark didn't hire him, Mark would probably definitely get a number of people really, really majorly pissed off. Maybe some of the wrong people pissed off. All right. So we have to see how this plays out, I think. The reason is that they're so like this. They're up and down. I mean, like they have high highs or low lows. High highs, low lows. Uh, do you think the Raiders would trade Adams? Well, do I think the Raiders would trade Adams? For what? I mean, you say picks. Do I think that the Raiders need, this is me, all right? I think the Raiders have the players to win. The Raiders have the players to be effective. The Raiders need to concentrate on depth, and they don't need to part ways with Adams to do that. This game shows what they're capable of. All right. Now, look, if the Chargers come out here and all of a sudden they figure out a way to replicate what was done to them, which I doubt, we're talking a different story. I think it's out of bounds. We're talking a different story. But this is the largest Raiders halftime lead all time. It ties the second largest in NFL history. And no sacks. There were no sacks. Aiden did not feel Khalil Mack or anybody else. And there was 5 touchdown passes. They said 5 times 7 is 35, right? They can't make up their mind. First, they said 4 touchdown passes. 4 times 7 is 28. It's 42. So, 5 touchdown passes. 5. I mean, hula dog. John says, I agree. Yeah. And so, Vinny's going to be joining us soon. Okay. And let's see here. Waiting on the other members of my team here. What are your thoughts on the new owners who also are the owners of the Dallas Mavericks? The new owners. Let me see. Are you referring to? Well, the new owners of the Raiders? No. Did something happen there? Wait a minute. Have I been sick that long? Wait a second. Raiders. I don't think owner Mark Davis. He's still the owner. Mark Davis is still the owner, as far as I know. Yep. And right here's Vinny of the Raiders. Oh, hey Vinny, how you doing?
Hey, Zinni. Sorry if the setup. My computer's just reloading, so I'm just.
Oh, what do you think of this game?
What more can you say other than the term annihilation?
I like
it is total annihilation.
Annihilation. That's a word I haven't heard in years.
Well, you've heard it here, and it makes sense because the Raiders played in my opinion, one of the greatest first halves I've ever seen in a football game. Literally, they connected.
You know, the last person I heard use the term annihilation was Bill King. Yeah, it goes back that. Wow. I heard that, you know, annihilation. But
it just it's like the Chargers didn't even show up to play, honestly. I look at how the Raiders are seen and said, where was this Raiders team all season? Where was this Raiders team last week? The Raiders, a team that didn't even, I think it says a lot about the Chargers that without their quarterback, who's now done for the season, they're getting shut out 42-0 against a team that didn't score a single point last week.
Mm-hmm. And get this, by the way, don't forget the Raiders have the ball and they're in the Chargers territory again. I mean,
this is it's not even a comedy anymore because it's not even funny for the Chargers perspective. Like they're on the verge of now losing 49-0. Honestly, Zenny, I saw this. This is the largest halftime lead the Raiders have ever had in their entire history.
And PJ Kite, who can't be with us because he's sick, but he did text that. What did he say? He said,
"I could see the Raiders winning 80-0."
Yeah, he said 80.
It would probably wouldn't be 80. I'd assume.
I mean, I'll take 50. I don't know if 8. I don't know if they'll get it because he said, "Y'all call it here right now. I think the Raiders are going to win 80-0, and Court Staley would be gone by tomorrow."
Now, to be fair, the Broncos, the Dolphins beat the Broncos by scoring 70 points. So
true. Yeah.
I mean, it could be possible that the Raiders can score 10 touchdowns.
But I wonder if this is. Can you remember a season where we've had this kind of wild swing?
Like in terms of just a half that's just so
bored. Yeah. Yeah.
I've never seen a game that was decided this early on who the winner was.
Well, never. The Dolphins game.
The Dolphins game, I've never seen a game like that a team scored 70 points. Never in my life have I ever seen that.
But that's comparable though. You know, this is 42. This could easily hit 70. There's nothing to stop it. You know, it's just
no.
I'm wondering what's going on the other side of the football to cause that, because that's weird. I mean, I can't remember an NFL season where I've seen these kind of big wild swings.
The Chargers are playing lifeless. They feel like a team that they packed in their season already, and
yeah, you should call them the mummies. I mean, you know, just
I don't even think Brendan Fraser could save them right now. That's the thing.
No.
Because speaking of
20, 10, they're down to almost the 7-yard line. I mean, this is crazy. So any moment now, it looks like, unless they decide mercy, which it doesn't look like they're going to do, because I think Antonio's trying to prove a point. What that is, I just don't know.
That he is more deserving of a job than Brandon Staley right now as a head coach of a football team, because I think he's already.
I think he's trying to show everybody what the Raiders are capable of doing. I don't think it's a matter of, hire me. I think he's trying to say, hey, look, this is what we're capable of doing to the world, right? Just say, don't get down on us, all right?
And you know that the Raiders lost 3-0 last week. They held the Vikings to 0 points up until the final 2 minutes of the game. Like, this is a team that's has only allowed 3 points in almost 2 games now, which is incredible.
But see, Pierce, he's like doing this, like hurry up. He wants that touchdown. I mean, it's the anger of not scoring points.
He's determined to win.
Yeah, yeah. I'm wondering what he said to motivate them. I wonder what the game plan is. Excellent.
Oh,
right.
How could you say it's anything other than excellent? I mean, there's almost going to be 49-0. How
Yeah.
can you say the
And
game
this
plan is not excellent?
right here, and there we go. And guess what? He's going to throw it, and it's a touchdown. And that's the second time they've done that. Touchdown.
Oh my God! You know, props to the entire Raiders. Like, man,
48-0. 48.
It's going to be 49 soon with the extra.
Oh, and the Chargers are going to be everybody in the Chargers brass is going to be just pissed because that would be seen as just salt in the wound. Because
this is more like dumping acid into the wound at this point.
Yeah,
it's like you're basically taking a lemon and squeezing it into the open wound, and it burns so badly. I mean, that's what it smells. That's what it's like. You're squeezing lemon juice in your veins and arteries.
It's not, but you can't. I mean, you're forced to either groan or laugh at the scene because he called a trick play. A trick play. I mean, that's almost.
It's a trick for the Chargers, but for the viewers, is this really a trick if you're down 49-0?
Oh,
that's an interesting question.
Yeah, it is. Hold on a second.
Is it truly a trick play if you're not tricking us Raiders?
What's saying on Twitter about that?
I think they're saying that fire Brandon Staley. Richard Sherman said that Brandon Staley should have been fired at halftime.
Yeah, we were talking about that before you arrived. That was absolutely hilarious. I wonder what Bill's doing. I thought Bill was going to join us.
Yeah.
But before we get to, unless maybe
I won't be on for much longer, so I gotta take care of my dad. That's why.
Oh, how's he doing?
I take an IV. That's why.
Gotcha. Hey, my prayers to him. My best to him.
Thanks.
Yeah. Hello.
Hey, I'm coming, Zenny.
Okay. We'll see ya.
Well, I gotta head out, Zenny.
Oh, I want to do 3 in here in a second. I don't know if you can't. You gotta. Yeah, I want the 3 of you. That's why I gotta.
I see.
Yeah. No, it's not a replacement. It's like the team.
No. Oh, I know. But I had to head out. That's why.
Oh wow, yeah. Man, prayers to your dad, man. Gosh, anything we can do, let us know.
Thanks, no problem. I'm just taking care of him. See you.
All right, man. God bless, man. See ya. Yeah. So that's Vinny and taking care of his dad. Wow. Let's pray for Vinny's father, Mr. Laspinoso. So, you were asking me, Vaughn, Eric. You asked me what the thoughts on the new owners who are also the owners, owners of the Dallas Mavericks. Didn't make any sense there. The Raiders don't have a new owner, so. But as far as you're talking about Miriam Adelson, I know she's wanted to have a team that she can leave to her kids, and I think this is that move, to achieve that. And beyond that, I have to really analyze it more. I haven't had the time to really look into it deeper. I thought maybe, hey, Mark Cuban comes away with, he's still basically the manager of the team. He comes away with $2 billion to pour into the team, or however he wants to do it. Or maybe he's just gonna. I don't think he's gonna do that. I think he's taking that $2 billion and using it in part for working capital. So what I think of it, I think it's great for Mark Cuban. I thought it was something was happening to the Raiders. I don't know. What do you think of it? Is the other question. Okay, so my other question on the board is now the question is, will the Raiders reach? You think the Raiders, Mom? You think the Raiders will reach 60 points? Oh, and now the Chargers throw deep. And guess what? 5. They finally get a touchdown out of all this. Oh, the comeback is on. The Chargers comeback is on. The Chargers comeback is on, folks. It's on. They only have 7 more touchdowns. 7 times 7 is 49. They only have 6 more touchdowns, folks. The comeback is on. And it was a good idea. Just threw it up, let him run under the ball in stride. Number 5. And it's pitch and catch. There we go. Boom. So let's see now. He's got to make the extra point. If he doesn't make the extra point, he's toast. And he did. He got the extra point. So now it's 49-7. 49-7. Now here's another bet. Will the Chargers onside kick? Will the Chargers onside kick? Hey, how you doing? What do you think of this? Von Erich says, thought they have interest in the Raiders and looking to buy majority stake like they did the Mavericks. I thought that too. Wow, nice shot. Hey, there's who's sitting with Mark Davis? That person looks familiar. That is it's not Lincoln Kennedy. Anyway, but to answer your question, Von Erich. Oh, right, I get you. Yeah, I thought it was going to be the Raiders getting that because I remember in 2017, late 2016. I'm sorry. I think it was someone at the Review Journal. One of the publications had it. I believe it was the Review Journal that Mark Davis intended to sell the Raiders to Adelson's kids, Sheldon Adelson's kids, and somewhere down the road, right? Once they got into Vegas. And when I heard this whole deal about Adelson's pulling out $2 billion, I thought, they're going to buy a stake in the Raiders. Not the whole thing. I never thought they were trying to buy the whole thing. And it turned out to be a stake in the Dodgers. But it wasn't like Mark Cuban was going to go away. So, there we go. Okay, here we go. Now we've got Mr. Carroll. Mr. Carroll, how are you? Hey, Bill. Wait for Bill to put his earpiece in as the Raiders are on their own 25, 1st and 10. And giving it ground game, picking up a good almost 5 yards. What do you think of this game, Bill?
Well, the first thing that I'm reminded, while it's impossible not to note that the Chargers have had a lot of injuries at a lot of positions, obviously including their starting quarterback position. This is the most dominant that the Raiders have looked in over a calendar year, probably a couple of years. You probably have to go back maybe 3 seasons, probably, since they looked this good in a game.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like I said, this is not the Chargers at full strength, but the way that they
say that again.
right. I mean, obviously, like I said, they've had a lot of key, injuries at key positions, including, of course, quarterback. But even with that being accounted for, this is the best that the Las Vegas Raiders have looked. I mean, practically since they've moved to their current location.
Yeah. They actually look like the 2003 Raiders. Well, actually, excuse me, the 2002 Raiders that went to the 2003 Super Bowl. I mean, offensively, they looked just that efficient. Maybe not as explosive because you had Tim Brown and Jerry Rice leading a high-powered offense guided by Rich Gannon, but which was eventually shut down by your Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but only because John Gruden had basically built the offense. But the whole point is, this team looks like that offense for this game. Okay, for this game. Now, my question is, does it carry? This is the first time they punted in a while. All right, and
Well,
I was surprised that the Chargers didn't do an onside kick to begin with. You're getting killed by that much, man. You should try all kinds of trickeration to get the ball back. What say you?
yeah. Well, I mean, going forward on fourth down even made even more sense. They've come to a point where it's pretty clear they don't have an answer. So one thing that you want to do first of all is before you do anything else, you have to first, and they just did it. They probably got a stop on defense. That's the first thing you want to do. So now, having gotten a stop on defense, it gives you an opportunity to catch up, because it doesn't matter what you do on offense if they keep scoring on you on defense. So at least they've gotten that the first thing out of the way. And I don't know why the Chargers aren't, beyond just what you're saying, looking at players they don't use as much. I mean, Darius Davis is the most explosive and dangerous person they probably have who's healthy enough to play. And he's, extremely fast. He's very quick. And at some point, you got to look at who is it that gives you an actual chance to win. Darius Davis is a player that actually gives them a chance to win. He's very difficult just to stay close to because of his combination of quickness and speed. They need to figure out a package to get the ball into the hands of Quentin Johnston. They're talented, but thus far inconsistent and frankly not very productive rookie, though he's had his best game of the year previous to this game. Still, he hadn't done that much. I mean, he was sort of in the bottom half of the rookies at start, or at least at start a fair amount in the league at his position, at wide receiver. But he's, like I said, a very talented guy, just hasn't done much as of yet. Be a great time to sort of knock the dust off and see what he can do, being used as a number one type receiver or close to it, maybe as a number two type receiver in a situation like this, because there's no reason. What are you waiting for, right? No reason to hold back. You're probably getting fired anyway if you're Brandon Staley. And if you're going to go down, go down. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to go down, trying some things, doing some things that you haven't done before. You have obviously some limitations of what the offense can do, because Easton Stick is a backup for a reason. He's not a guy that's going to ever probably be an NFL starter, so you can't do some of the things you would do if you had one of the more, they have a very high, I mean, in terms of talent, he's one of the most talented, physically speaking, one of the most talented quarterbacks in the game in Herbert. And there's a drop off, obviously, from him to Stick. But look at things that Stick can do well and start, attacking those areas. And the last but not least, they haven't run the ball well. Now, obviously, when you're down by the scores, I can understand maybe, that's not something you would think about doing, but I would definitely try to get something going on the ground game. One is because it takes pressure off of your backup quarterback, but two, they do have some playmaking ability. I mean, Eckler is a playmaker, a person that's one of the better offensive players on the team. I would, like I said, as I mentioned before, get Darius Davis some touches, whether it be reverses, in addition to sort of the conventional passing game. And like I said, Quentin Johnston, so those would be the objectives I'd have for the rest of the game. And if you manage to, somehow come back and make it a competitive game, that's sort of a bonus. But it's a great time to let's just start pressure testing, start giving some of these players on our team an actual test to see what they can do.
Hey, so what do you think of the fact that Aiden has 5 touchdown passes? 5. I mean, is that that was almost a pick 6. But back to O'Connell. So solidify his job. No, here's my question, Bill. when a game gets to this point, you just automatically consider it an anomaly and throw it out, or do you like I take the best from it, even look at the worst, and I work out it like any other game. Yeah, maybe it's got some huge differentials, right? But still, it's a game. What do you think?
Well, all information is worth examination. So no, you don't throw anything out. I would take a look at it along with all. I mean, you go back to the all 22 and you say, okay, why did we have such much success after having literally an offense that was shut out, right? Just not even an entire week ago, right? Just 5 days ago, we had an offense that could not score, period, at all in overtime plus a little bit of overtime plus regulation, couldn't score. So styles make fights, right? The matchup itself matters, but you do want to look at what things did we do well, versus what we were struggling to do. We're holding up in terms of protection better than we did, right? I mean, you've got some talent in terms of pass rush.
Yeah.
And the guy who leads the NFL in sacks is right over there, Khalil Mack. And he usually feasts on the Raiders, right? 6 times, right? 6 times he sacked O'Connell earlier in the season, right? So the biggest sack producing game of anybody in a couple of years was that game.
What they can't reach.
Well, that's the thing is they've done a much better job this week of not allowing O'Connell to be. I mean, that was his first start of his NFL career when faced the Chargers. So he's a more experienced player. I think that they are playing better football now than they were when he first, lines up to be essentially fodder for the Chargers. They're a better team. The Chargers are also a worse team, right? The Chargers have gotten worse. The Raiders have gotten better. So all those things should be accounted for. But yes, you look at all the games. When you're trying to evaluate if someone is someone that you want to possibly try to build around versus someone you are telling them, okay, thank you so much for your service. We are moving on. We either are going to go after someone in free agency or the draft or both. We will keep you around as a backup. But that's all determined when you look thoroughly through all of the tape and say, is this person headed in the right direction? Do they have a strong enough arm to execute some of the things you want to do? What are their strengths and weaknesses? What can they do? What can they not do? And can we live with the things they can't do? Those are all the things you want to throw in there before you start deciding. You don't decide based on any game, any one single game, about how good or bad that one game is.
Hey, so if you are the owners of the Chargers, if you're Dean Spanos, do you fire Brandon Staley after this game?
Oh, yes. Some partially symbolic, symbolic, a symbolic move.
Oh.
This person is supposed to, amongst other things, be a defensive thinker, right? He comes over from the Rams, with the promise essentially of building in the Rams image, right? The Rams of that time. And of course, he's actually comes away from them before the Super Bowl, but had helped to, author that defense. Now, they have not looked good on defense consistently at any point, really. But this year, I mean, this puts a real cherry on top of a not great Sunday, a Sunday that you would not want to eat,
right?
In terms of how they've performed.
Oh, speaking of which, I got to ask you this question: do you think using a halfback pass from the 10-yard line is salt in the wound, or just course of business? I thought it was salt in the wound.
I mean, it's a little bit of both. I think that when you're Las Vegas, you're still figuring out what you are too. Once you moved on from your previous coach and the previous general manager, you're saying to those that replace them, figure out who this team is, figure out who they are on the fly, right? You don't get a chance to land the plane. You've got to repair the plane while it's flying. So since they didn't take over the job in the offseason, everything they're learning about their team, they're learning through practice and games itself. Every game, every practice is a learning experience. That's part of the learning experience. And yes, it also, I mean, this was, as you know, a 60, 3-year-old rivalry game. And, these are two teams that don't have a lot of love and respect that's built up between the two of them. So yes, there's a little bit of both. But yeah, you're just trying to figure out what your team does well.
Wow. And hey, today, you want to see Mark Davis' new house?
I guess that's something we're about to do.
Well, just for a second, I just happened to see it. It's under construction as you and I speak. And here we'll share the screen since here it's 77 Sunset Strip. I'm not making that up. In Anderson, Nevada. And that's the aerial view of it. I don't know if it can be moved or anything. That's the only photograph there is of this one. Okay. And let's see if there's other photographs. Realtor has what? A map. It has a map, and that's it. It's a 6.34 acre lot, and it kind of looks like the TWA terminal. Where am I here? Yeah. So and there's another shot of it, folks. It's an interesting place. That's Mark's place. So anyway, just a little side trivia there for you all. And now quarterback. You both think the Raiders will go for a QB in the draft?
I think that
the draft
I think they would have done that either way. What's being determined is where, like in which part of the draft. If you think that Aiden O'Connell at least gives you a 50% chance of developing into your long-term starter, then you're going to draft later because you're thinking you're trying to develop someone who's going to be, probably a backup who might someday be a starter. If you're trying to say, oh, we need a starter, we're desperate, we got to get out of this, help, they're going to draft earlier and maybe even trade up depending upon exactly where the Raiders end up picking when it's all said and done.
About this, what about the argument that the Raiders need a mobile quarterback?
Well,
example,
that's an okay argument, but what they really need is an effective quarterback. I mean, that's the most important thing. And if someone adds to that they have the extra added, sort of get out of jail free card that being an elite athlete gives you, that's fun and that's cool too. And in the case of Caleb Williams, he of course is a guy who has that sort of extra added attraction of being extremely mobile. The other guys that would be picked early, I mean, Drake May is a really good athlete too, actually. They're both good athletes. Drake May has terrific basketball tape. If you watch his high school basketball, it's like, okay, this guy was, obviously he has a brother who played on a national championship basketball team. So basketball is also well represented. The father, of course, was a terrific quarterback at Carolina. I watched Mark, his father, back in the day. So, Drake May, who has already declared for the draft, so we know he's definitely going to be in the draft, brings a lot of the things to the table you're looking for as well. He's, like I said, a really good athlete, probably not quite as willing a runner as Caleb is, but both those players are likely to be gone before the Raiders are selecting, unless, like I said, they probably end up trading up, because the Bears, if they decide they want a quarterback, will have, shot at one early. And a team like New England, there's a few other teams that will probably be positioning themselves for that second quarterback off the table. So, yeah, there'll be a clump of teams in the first, somewhere in that first 4 or 5 picks that'll probably take at least one, if not both, of those quarterbacks before the Raiders have their chance. Now, it also depends on how many games the Raiders win. And that's where we get sort of to the, you'd like to see effort, you'd like to see growth, but do you want to see wins? And if so, how many? Because they can't win enough games to make the playoffs, right? That's sort of already slammed shut for them on this side of the house, right? Because they're in the AFC. If they were an NFC team, they might still have a chance because we talked about the NFC South and things like that. There's more avenues. If you're a team that's right around 500, you have a better chance. On the AFC side, there's too many good football teams, right? If you are a 500 team or below, you are in it. You have to win your division, right? That's the only way. If you want to be a team that's around 500 on the AFC side, you have to win your division. On the NFC side, there might be a chance to be a wild card team if you're right around 500.
Hey, I'm curious. You didn't mention Caleb Williams as a top quarterback.
I sure did.
You did.
I don't know where you were when I just said all the whole thing about what mobility gives you and how he's an extremely willing runner, while Drake May, though also a very good athlete, is less of a willing runner.
I heard maybe it's the vowel sounds. I heard, well, it can't be that because Caleb, right? I just heard Drake May and I got stuck on it. And
yeah, I did that as a comparison between the two, but I said Caleb first, and then I mentioned Drake May.
So you think Caleb is better?
No, it's not what I said.
That
wasn't what you asked me before.
It is. I mean, I say you didn't mention Caleb Williams, but see,
I mentioned both. But
here's why I ask. Right? Out of fairness to you, because you can't see what I'm looking at. This, all right. And so, see, he says yes, he did.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, he's talking. He's defending you, not me. But the whole point is, okay. But it's this board, and it has. And what I was looking at is this, and I was saying, well, hey, do you have him ranked number one, or you think he's number one? And I didn't. Maybe he didn't come out, right. There's Dean. Dean, I know, is chewing nails. Well, he's chewing his pinky right now. He just ate something. Right. He looks like the guy that's about to fire his head coach and then go eat.
Yeah, perhaps not even that order. Maybe, who knows? But the two presumed top quarterbacks both give you some things that some teams are going to look for, like arm strength. They both are guys with strong arms. May even have the slightly stronger arm of the two. Mm-hmm. The thing that Caleb, like I said, gives you is he's a guy who's very comfortable on the move, maybe even sometimes more comfortable on the move than he might be hanging in the pocket. He's slightly more experienced. Both guys have started enough games. You're talking about basically a 2.5 and a 2-year starter in the case of those two players. Mm-hmm. So unlike some of the guys we've seen in past years, like Trey Lance and others who have, frankly, in my mind, not enough starting experience, at least both those guys break through the fresh threshold of having, in the 20s of starts as collegians. I think that Drake May is, the more raw of the two, but he's also, a little younger, not a lot younger. I mean, they're, months apart. It's not like it's a huge gap in age. I just think it comes down to, as I say, horses for courses, who taste. May's taller, slightly stronger arm, little less, very athletic, but a little less willing, a little less likely to take off, in order to just create with his feet without trying to just stay, find someone downfield and get it out of his hands. And then in the case of Caleb, like I said, I mean, Caleb sometimes flushes when he doesn't have to. Maybe it's a little too willing sometimes to leave the pocket, but dynamic, super dynamic. And there's people who, who prefer even guys beyond those two. There's people who prefer Penix. There's people who prefer Bo Nix. Now, I think that Bo Nix is going to end up being moved down a little bit in the pre-draft process, when people dig more deeply into him. But even a guy like Nix, he might be a future starter. And once you get even beyond those guys, there's a few players I think have the chance to develop. And of course, we have to mention Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels is the guy who just won the Heisman. He's on that bubble, in my mind, between the first and second round. And he needs 3 things to happen. One, win the weigh-in, young man. He's got to get somewhere into at least like the lower 200 and teens. If he can get to 212, 213, that's a little win. If he gets to 217, 218, that's a big win. That's gonna if he ends up coming in under 205, that's a big loss, right?
Nah, they have
So
Michael
he's got
Penix here 5th. That's unbelievable. I thought that Michael Penix was the best passer in college football, even better than Caleb Williams. So he beat Caleb Williams. So I'm not getting this board. But if Penix falls to that degree, I think he's a heck of a bargain.
sure. I think the two things that if he were to fall down, or say fall down, to go later than some people are anticipating, because
we have a
once
team
again,
falling down before our eyes. I think
once again, we have to realize that a team's board is very different from these media.
Wait a minute, they just scored another touchdown.
Yeah. You didn't. I just saw that because they punched the ball out of Stick's hands to scoop and score. Yeah, I just saw that. Scoop and score.
Scoop and score.
Yes, scoop and score. But
wow. Wait a minute. Wait. Just hold on a second. So we have to note this. 56-7. 56-7, folks.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
56-7. All right, Bill. Please continue.
Sure. So where was I just? Oh, right. So the two things that might push a guy like Penix down. Yes.
Right. After you answer the question about Penix, please attack the next one regarding Belichick that by Mr. Von Erich there. Thank you.
So he's an older prospect who's had an injury history that is a little scary. Those are the two things that have a chance to move a guy like Penix down the board. And by leave, I think you mean if he's fired, because I don't think Bill Belichick will ever voluntarily leave New England. So if they decide to move on from him and he decides, unlike most people in the early 70s, that he does not want to simply enjoy the rest of his golden years in repose and rest, if he decides he wants to, for whatever reason, keep, sleeping on a cot and, taking handful of antacids, if for some reason he wants to do that, yes, there'll be people who will want to kick the tires on a guy like Bill Belichick, but they want to know how long he wants to keep doing this, because very few teams are looking for a 1 or 2 year rental. And they'll want to know, does he insist on being involved intimately in player personnel decisions, both college and professional? Because that he has been intimately and frankly been supervising in his last several years in New England. Not every team wants that. Some of the teams may just want him to come in and coach. Is he open to that? That is maybe the biggest question regarding his future, because he might even survive in New England if he makes it clear he's willing to let go of the reins when it comes to player personnel decisions.
I'm just waving at people. They're coming in. We had 3, yeah. All right, so back to this contest. Mm-hmm. Do you think the Raiders hit 60?
I mean, they certainly should, with the amount of time that's left in the game, because they've got a whole quarter to go.
It's almost happy. This is hilarious.
I don't know if they will. I mean, they might well take their foot off the gas pedal, like many teams would in this situation. It comes down to two things. One, will there be any more turnovers? Right? If the Chargers, Los Angeles continues to turn the ball over, they won't be able to avoid scoring if they don't want to. And then the last thing is, like I said, do they decide to call the dogs off on offense? Are they going to still keep trying to move the football? Those are the two questions.
Just showing the replay of Jennings going back, and the ball coming out, and Jennings grabs it, and he is off to the races. Top speed of 17 miles per hour. That is fast for a big man. Mm-hmm. That's just fast. I mean, I don't think I can. Can you get to 17 miles per hour, Bill? You probably could.
That's a good question. See, we didn't go by that in my day. We didn't have all that tracking. We just had 40 times and things like that. But In my peak, I was able to come in just a little under 4.7, 4.67, 4.69, that range when I was much younger.
You see, if I'm Dean Spanos, I'm angry that my team is not going to a 2-minute drill constant. Because, at least close the gap. Do something. They're 5-8. Anything can happen. Well, the way this is going to be 5-9. But if at least you got 14 minutes and 50 seconds, go run and shoot, throw your butt off, because what do you got to lose? You've already got a 50 deficit. Right?
Well, I was going to say, you just saw the scoop and score. That's what you have to lose. You could lose by even more points because you're not able to protect your backup quarterback. So,
well, how about like short passing with no huddle, right? Yeah, I'm just saying, try. I would be screaming up there, do something. Is it legal to call down to the field? Probably not. Is it legal for owners to call down to the field?
No, they can't call down to the field. They can relay messages, ways that they find ways to, if they want. Jerry Jones and people like that have ways of, getting their feelings made known to the coaching staff. But most owners,
I'd send the carrier pigeon down there just to poop on his head. It's like, doggone it.
Yeah, most owners, stay in their lane. But this might be a situation where you're waiting for them in the locker room, and you go, throw your arm around the coach's shoulder and say, come walk with me, and come back without him when you're done. So
what kind of tableau that sets up? It's like he executed him. Oh my God.
Yeah, well, that puts me in mind of thinking about like 1976. The question being asked to the late great John McKay. Well, coach, what do you think of your team's execution? Well, I'm all for
it. Oh man, you can't make this up. All right, okay. Question I got to ask you about. This game's coming up. You saw Monday Night Football, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have an opinion regarding the passing Paisano, right?
Yeah. Yes, we've all seen Tommy Cutlets amongst his other nicknames, and of course, I mentioned that I met. I think I mentioned to you that maybe I did, but that I met his agent at the combine. So we actually hung out a little bit. Yeah, he's friends with Rick Saratella. So yeah, we
we met. We had to get Ricky on the show.
Yeah, we met. I met Sean, the agent. Of course, at the time, Tommy DeVito hadn't even signed with him. I guess at that point, Tommy was in that draft class. But yes, or maybe he had signed. Actually, no, he had signed with him. He had signed with him, but Tommy wasn't, drafted yet.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I did meet him at the combine.
Ooh, a 4x1, Bill, and they do. Oh, he picked it off, and it's a touchdown.
That's the answer to your question. That is the answer. That's the answer to your question about why you don't try those things, right? Because
I didn't say that pass.
Well, I'm just saying, but you said, why not just?
Well,
you said quick.
I call for quick.
No, but I'm saying, but that's the answer to your question about the quick, short, whatever. Now screens or whatever.
That's not my Eagle offense, man.
No, I know that. I'm just saying that's the. No, you asked why not. That would be the why not.
That was you telegraphing that throw. That's what I hate about it.
Oh, I'm agreeing with you, but you asked why not. Ridiculous. That's Easton's. Remember, that's not your starter. That's Easton's.
Standing there. That's why when I developed the Eagle offense, I've got the halfback in motion, and you're throwing. You can throw to the halfback while the halfback is in motion and the ball is snapped, so you don't have to worry about that. But not standing there. I mean, these all guys are standing as sitting ducks, and he just, I've seen that a lot happen. This play right here happens a lot because you've got all these DBs up there, and these people are fast. They're superhuman now. Bill, they come out of high school. There's high school kid in Texas that did that. He actually intercepted a pitch out, all right, and ran it back for a touchdown. I mean, that's
history was just been made. That is the most points that the Raiders have scored in their 63-year history.
wow. Mom, 63-7. Mom, 63-7. My poor mom is tired. So 63-7. We have 14 minutes and 31 seconds left. Von Erich wants to know what your thoughts on the NFL will be in the next 5 or 10 years. I already know the league will be starting. I think
I don't think we're going to see another league starting.
No.
I think what may happen is you may see a formalization of a relationship between, as the USFL, XFL merge, you may at some point see a formalized relationship where players that are under contract can be shared in essence, right? So that means maybe it might be based on territoriality. They have to figure out how they want to do it. But you could almost in essence have an expanded practice roster where your local, if you want to think of it that way, XFL/USFL team is taking maybe the bottom level of players, practice squad players, giving them a chance to get opportunities to actually get developed and play. And then you can pull those players back if needed onto your roster after they get a chance to be developed playing at that other level. But the NFL has made it extremely clear over and over again, they do not want to invest, because there have been lots of opportunities to do so, in paying for a actual developmental league. So if somebody else creates one,
no, they try to do
and they're willing to share resources, and the NFL at that point might be willing to share things like, marketing and even provide logistical support to some of these, because that's one of the big things, unfortunately, is that a lot of these organizations end up running into trouble just paying for things that you wouldn't think of as being a problem, like travel, hotels, things like that, which are no problem for the NFL, can for some of these lower level of professional leagues can be one of their biggest issues. They don't have all of the same sorts of relationships established for decades, obviously, that the NFL does. But the NFL, like I said, has had lots of opportunities to have its own developmental league and has demurred. So my guess is they're not going to suddenly start now. The closest they came was NFL Europa, right? NFL Europe/Europa, and they moved off of that. They decided they didn't want to do it and stopped.
I think there are going to be 4 international teams. But getting back to the passing paisano, my question to you, Bill, is he had a fantastic Monday night, and the Giants played extremely well as a team. Does that mean they beat the Saints?
It does not mean that. I think the Saints end up winning that game. I just think the Giants are a much more competitive team than many of us had expected once, Daniel Jones went down. And, I mean, this team looked terrible early in the season. They looked really, really bad. This team looks better now than it did then. And they're healthier at some positions they were early in the year. They had a lot of injuries early in the season. And now those guys who were being forced to play and became starters, including DeVito, became starters through injury, have now played enough that they feel more like an NFL starter than they did before. When you first go out there, you feel like a backup. You've gotten backup reps. The team looks at you like as a backup. They don't really trust you. I mean, especially the veterans who starters don't even really know you. They've seen you around. They know you're a young guy who's on the team, but you've been on scout team. You've been playing with and against scout team players. When you get called up to the big show, especially when you're a rookie, they're learning you. Now they've learned him. They know what he does well. They know what he likes. They know, how the ball comes out of his hand. They figured so he's the guy, at least temporarily now, where instead of being a guy, he's going to be a guy to the guy. That's 4 letters different, but it's a big 4 letters difference between being a guy and being the guy. So they look better. They're still not a good football team, and they still have a lot of decisions to make when the offseason rolls around. But I think the Saints will prevail in that game.
I have a feeling that's a trap game. I really do. Only because the Saints, the general consensus is that the Saints were lucky that they drew the Panthers because a slightly better team by, say, 2 more wins would have beaten them. And here comes that slightly better team. There's a lot of stern and drum going on with them, a lot of unhappy players, they're just not in a good mental space. Now, maybe, hey, some teams like I think of the 1985 San Francisco 49ers, some teams go through seasons where they're arguing with each other, the owner's mad at them, and next thing you know, they're in the Super Bowl. That could happen. So we'll see.
Yeah,
Well,
the
Bill,
Giants aren't that kind of team at the moment. They have a lot of work to do on that roster. Their defense has a lot of holes in it. The Saints should be able to exploit that secondary. I mean, there's a lot of things. Both those teams have problems, but the bigger problems are found on the side of New York, right? They have only one pass rusher that really bothers you at all in Kayvon Thibodeau. They not lost, but they moved on from Leonard Williams, right, and via free agency, and they haven't replaced him really. So there's some things for them to work on there. They have a couple of really good players on offense, a couple of really good players on defense, and a lot of question marks on both sides of the ball.
And yet they won on Monday night.
Sure. I mean,
so my point is, they won on Monday night. I don't see the Saints easily beating them.
Well, I didn't say that about easily.
They have
doesn't have to be easy.
Well, Saquon's running well. They have a new offense essentially with Mr. DeVito and a brilliant, masked in the whole issue regarding his ethnicity and being a drafted free agent is the fact that the Giants really called a great game plan. They really did. And
sure, I agree.
That's what impressed me. I mean, you could say what you will about their talent, but man, schematically, strategically, they were on point. And that made them, to me, a difficult customer. Really, really is. Well, Bill, it's been an hour and 2. And let's say a prayer for Vinny's father. Yes. And for PJ, who's got a cold, and wish everybody, even though we'll see you again, happy holidays. Don't forget to get your cards out. I got to get my cards out to people. And Merry Christmas. And Happy Hanukkah.
Right. Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Diwali, and all that. And the one player that if you were starting a Charger on your fantasy team, if you had Josh Palmer, well done. He's having one of his best games of the season.
Oh, good catch.
Despite he's also had the touchdown earlier, but he's the only real Charger who's having a really good game on offense. But yeah, they are, 106 yards and a touchdown already, and they've got plenty more chances to throw the football. And of course, with Keenan Allen out, and their injuries they've had it. There's another touchdown, and that one went to Alex Erickson from Oregon State.
Oh, you're play ahead of me because I'm watching the replay. So they scored a touchdown. So it's 63-14 now.
Yes. So yeah, obviously if you had the over, you've celebrated quite some time ago in this game, but yes, if you had an anytime touchdown for Mr. Alex Erickson, I guess you're celebrating again.
All right, sir. I will let you go. Hey, folks, Stick around. Folks, thank you for joining us. That ends this broadcast. And subscribe to Zenny62 on YouTube. We'll see you.